my house. My name is Victoria Heeks Knight, and I am your host here on Hockey Talk. If you are a new audience member, welcome. If you are a returning audience member, welcome back. So today I decided I would do something a little bit different than I have before because I've missed uploading and reacting to the last handful of games that the Carolina Hurricanes have had. So I figured I would talk about the Caps game that just happened and then talk about my thoughts going into the Rangers game. So, going into the Caps game, I had high hopes. And here is why. So, first off, the Caps played the Canes in Raleigh, and we talked about that game here on this channel. That game was very, very spicy, prickly, chirpy, unhinged, whatever you want to call it. And that was one of the most fun games I've seen in a long time. Now, there was some controversy, and the big controversy came from Chatfield doing a leg sweep takedown on a guy from the Caps team. I talked about it a little bit. To me, yes, it is a dangerous thing to do. Yes, it is something that should you do? Probably not. But when he did it, it was clean and crispy and spicy as hell. So I don't know. It's very controversial and I understand that controversy. Now, here's the next thing that I'm going to say is because of those prickly moments in that particular game. It was speculated and it was 100% believed that some of that would carry over into this game. I don't blame the speculation for being there because I had that speculation. So let's talk about this game. Chatfield and someone on the Capitals team did 100% get into a little bit of a scuffle, but the refs didn't let that aggressive canoodling, skadoodling continue for too long. So there was that. There were a little heated words exchanged sprinkled throughout the game, but I also think that added to the energy level. And there were many good plays made on both sides of the ice. It wasn't just the Caps. It wasn't just the Hurricanes. It wasn't just one specific player. There were some really good things that happened in that game. And I thought we performed really well. It was like all of a sudden we woke up and hello, we're playing like we're in the playoffs. So, let's talk about that. So, here are my top picks for um who played exceedingly well. We have Aho. He played very, very well. He played amazingly. Aho played some great hockey. Okay. Here's my next one. Okay. Jarvis. He and Aho together are like magic. I do not understand how to explain this, but when they come together, particularly on two-on-ones, they are reading each other like a book. And they had some great moments where they had those two-on-one goal opportunities and they took it. And that's awesome. I love to see that. Okay. So always Jarvis and Aho come to play, especially together. Someone else that I thought did very well. in the Caps game was Blake. Okay. Blake was working with Jarvis and Aho on their line. Okay. So that is Aho and Jarvis's line. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think a young rookie like Blake working together with seasoned players such as Aho and Jarvis, I think it's a great, great opportunity for him to learn and find his footing. And then I will want to say welcome back to Svechi. Okay. So he did very well, especially since this is, I think it was his second game back after being away on injury for a while. But he had some great, great plays as well and some great goal opportunities. I will talk about the shootout in a little bit, but we'll get to that. So those are my top 4 picks, okay, for players that really played well. The next one that I'm going to say, and this will be my top 5, is Freddie. Freddie. I sometimes wonder if this man is human with the saves he makes. Okay. He made some incredible saves, especially in the shootout. Again, I'll circle back around to that here in a minute, but I thought these 4 guys really, or 5 guys, excuse me, really did well and played exceedingly well together. Now, let's talk about the overtime. The overtime bit for me was very stressful because it there were a couple of penalties and there was a lot of back and forth. But again, Jarvis had amazing goal attempts. Aho also had amazing goal attempts, and so did Blake. Blake as well. And then Freddie. Amazing saves. Read the other team like a book, like 99% of the time, and that's a high percentage. So anyway, the overtime ended, and then we got into the shootout. Okay. Now this is where I I have opinions about the shootout. So Freddie did let one in on the shootout. Nothing wrong with letting one in unless you lose. So let's break this down. So Freddie Andersen only let one capital goal in the entire shootout. Now, here's where I get confused. Blake was up first for the Carolina Hurricanes, and he's not a bad pick for a shootout. He did not make his shot. The next person up is Svechi, which he's done shootouts before, and he had it beautifully set up, but their goalkeeper somehow read what he was planning to do and stopped it. Now, this is where I think it gets weird for me. And maybe it's not maybe I'm biased. Okay, I know I'm biased because I love a lot of the seasoned players. and some of the new guys I haven't seen in a shootout or overtime or in certain circumstances, so I don't know how they operate. However, I think putting Walker into the shootout for me was an odd choice. Not saying it was a bad choice. Well, okay, he missed. We lost, but he to me is an odd choice to put in the shootout at that point. In my mind, you put this is just my opinion or the my thought process. In my mind, you put your your lesser known factor, in this case Walker, first, so where Blake would be. And then you would put your more seasoned or more predictable player into the next slot and so on and so forth. Now, when I say predictable, I mean you know that player is going to sink that puck into the net. You know there's going to be some cha-cha slide done after that goal, right? But with with the Walker pick, I don't know because he's not been on the team as long, and I believe he's also a rookie. So I don't really know what I think of him as a player. So, like I say, I think it was weird to put him in. I question that, but as I've said before, I'm not a coach. I am not a ref. I am not a hockey official. So I don't know the thought process behind that. So anyway, that's all the thoughts I have on that. Now let's talk about this Rangers game. I think this Rangers game coming up tomorrow is going to be a very, very interesting game. Here's why. I think Freddie is going to be the backup and Kachekov is going to be in the goal. I also think that they're going to be mixing up the lines a little bit because this is going into playoff territory. And this is the time, and I believe Rob Brindamore even said it in an interview where he's like, we want to make sure that we have the lines figured out and everyone's on their game and all this other stuff. That's not a quote word for word, but and I'm not even sure he said that. But I know that is something you do in the games leading up to your first game appearance. You want to hammer out, okay, Aho, Jarvis, and Blake are going to be on a line, or Kokanyemi, Svech, and Orlov are all going to be on a line. Like, you need to figure out what lines are going to work together and what's going to give you the best outcome. So, I know there's a lot of that going on, particularly going into this Rangers game, because this is one of the last games before the playoffs. I believe the Leaves game that happens on Sunday is the final season game before the playoffs. And again, it these last couple of games are very important. They're crucial to make sure that everyone is 100%, to make sure everyone has their head in the game and their and all their screws screwed in and everything, and that they're zeroed in on that win. Because once once you make it through the playoffs, you're in the Stanley Cup. You're home free, baby, to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. And that is the end goal. Now, I know you're going to want to take these playoff games one step at a time, but the end goal is the shining moment. All right. So, anyway, that's all I have for today. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you've not liked and subscribed, please do. And as always, thank you so much for coming to my house. Bye.